Welcome back. I'm going to use one of my favorite meditations today as a prayer, and it's originally written by George Appleton. Let's calm our hearts, quiet our souls, breathe deeply, find ourselves centered, and connect with the presence of God as I read this prayer. Give me a candle of the Spirit, O God, as I go down into the deep of my being. Show me the hidden things. Take me down to the spring of my life and tell me my nature and my name. Give me freedom to grow so that I may become my true self, the fulfillment of the seed which you planted in me at my making. Out of the deep I cry unto you, O God. Amen. Open up every part of us, Lord, to hear what it is you have to say today. Amen. So we're carrying on in John chapter 1. Today we're reading from verse 40 to verse 42. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and who had followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah," that is the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which when translated is Peter. Andrew just couldn't resist going to find Simon Peter, some would call him, to let him know the amazing news. And he announces to Peter very clearly, "We have found the Messiah." This was no small piece of information. The Messiah would have been somebody that the Jews would have been longing for, they'd been hoping for. He will come, and when the Messiah comes, everything will be put right. He will change everything. So what incredible confidence that Andrew has in this amazing news that he's passing on. We found him. We found the one that we've been waiting for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. And then we have this incredible encounter between Simon and Jesus. So remember Simon, sometimes called Simon Peter. We mostly know him later on as Peter. He meets Jesus. And the verse here simply says, and Jesus looks at him. For me, it has almost a haunting sense, that when somebody looks at you and they can see right through you, their gaze is penetrating. They fix their eyes on you. This is my imagination, I have to point out. But the fact that John, as he's writing it, says, and Jesus looks at him. I mean, it's obvious that he was going to look at him. So why does John feel the need to point out the words here? He looks at him. There's something in that penetrating gaze of Jesus. He could see Simon right to the core. I believe Simon knew that. And then the text carries on very, very simply, and Jesus lets him know, "You will be called Cephas," which means stone or rock. or in this case where it's translated in this version it says Peter, which again, Peter means stone or rock. So Jesus has one long hard look at Simon. He sees him to the core, and then calls out an entirely better future for Simon. Jesus lets him know that he sees better things in him. And he starts speaking about those better things as though they already exist. This will happen. You will be called Cephas. Your future is significant. I think it's fair to say that this encounter with somebody like Jesus is going to change Simon's life forever. So let's take these thoughts into a moment of contemplation. And let's try to do two things. I ask you to really try to engage with both of these things. It can be significant for you. First, just imagine that long and loving gaze of Jesus as he looks at you. Then consider, what is he speaking over you today? Is it something that calls out to the real you that's deep inside? Let's spend a minute considering his gaze and letting him look at us however he wants to. And then paying attention to what he's saying over us. And it'll be something that just goes straight to your heart. What does he speak over you? Let's quiet our hearts and pay attention. Lord, thank you, first of all, that you do gaze in our direction. And for me, just in that short minute of just listening and paying attention, of that sense of you just speaking into my heart, you are more than you have become. That's words from the Lion King, but spoken into my heart right there. Thank you that you speak lovingly over us, calling more out of us. Help us, Lord, to become all that you planted in us at our making. Amen. See you tomorrow.